Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Blue Table Talk. I'm your host, Deborah Jones, along with my co-host, Toya. And tonight we're going to be talking about the youth and the advisory council. So before we go into that, I have a little housekeeping. I always do talk about COVID. Remember, COVID is still out there. And I think right now people are catching Omicron because a lot of people have been getting hoarse. And by the hoarseness, the Omicron is, that involves Omicron. So let's continue to take care of ourselves, get medication. If you have any of these symptoms or disease viruses, please keep your mask on. You know, and so you won't give anyone else the virus, or you need to stay home and then do what you need to do at home for 5 days or whatever your doctor tells you, so that you can come back and be the person that you was before you left, and that other person won't be able to the other person won't be able to get the whatever you have. So wash your hands, keep your distance, and wear your mask. That's the three things that they ask you to do. As right now, we're going to talk to Alex Seal. Alex is he's with the Beaumont Youth Advisory, and he has some other people with him. Miles is supposed to be coming on, but he's not backstage yet. His picture's not up. So when he comes in, I will introduce him as well. We also have with us tonight, we have Guion Malani. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay, great. And he's one of the youth with the advisory committee. So, Alex, tell us a little bit more about the Beaumont Youth Advisory, because we want our youth involved, and in the community and everywhere else. So keep them involved, and let's do that. Before we even go on, guys, go ahead and hit your share button. And when our audience come through, I'm asking them to hit the share button as well. Alex, this is Alex Seals, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about the Beaumont Youth Advisory.
So I guess I'll just start by saying thank you for having us on this platform. Like we talked to Mr. Milani earlier. This is probably one of the first public outings for the Beaumont Youth Advisory Council. We've had about 2 or 3 meetings so far this year, so far as the council has been official. But I guess I'll just kind of back up a little bit. Most people out there might be familiar with the program, and I'll ask y'all: are y'all familiar with a program called Leadership Beaumont that the Chamber of Commerce puts on?
I've heard about it. Yes.
So essentially, there's a program that's an extension of that program, because that program is geared towards adults, adult leaders in the city of Beaumont. Well, last year, the chamber decided to implement a program that was geared towards the juniors in high school to develop a junior leadership Beaumont. And so, with the creation of that entity, I was asked to come on the steering committee for that program. And my day was local government. And so, because I guess people think I have an interest in government. What's going on, Miles? and so with my interest in that component, what we ended up doing was, for my day, I had wanted to try to implement a idea to get a junior city council to developed. And so, unbeknownst to me, there was already an ordinance that had a Beaumont Youth Advisory Council in place. And so, with us wanting to being able to tie the Junior Leadership Beaumont program to the current standing ordinance that the city had in place, because I think and the Beaumont Youth Advisory Council was already around, but COVID kind of came in and kind of slowed things down a bit. And so this is kind of really a reiteration of that. And so through the program that I put on, and then the next month's program was economics, and Councilman Turner came out and talked to the students, and the students brought up a lot of concerns, a lot of things that they were had questions about that was going on in the city. And AJ kind of put out to them, Councilman AJ put out to them this, well, what are you going to do about it? How are we going to solve this? And then, all of them came to the conclusion that they wanted to be involved with what's going on in the city beyond just what we were doing for Junior Leadership Beaumont. And so through countless hours of meetings between myself, Miles, and another representative of the Chamber of Commerce, we were able to get this ball rolling in its current form, in the current iteration of what you guys see at the Beaumont Youth Advisory Council. So that's kind of in a nutshell how this was not birthed, because again, it was already in place. But this is how this was refreshed, and now this version that you see of what we do. This is kind of how we've gotten to that point.
Okay, so how many youth do you have involved in it?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Miles. We have 16 members right now, or is it 18? I believe 16 to 18 children.
18. Okay, so they're from different walks of life. I mean, on the age wise.
So all of them. So as written into the I guess as updated into the ordinance, all of these students, as a prerequisite, had to have gone through the Junior Leadership Beaumont program, and the Junior Leadership Beaumont program is exclusive to juniors in high school. And so all of the kids who are currently sitting on the Youth Advisory Council are seniors in high school.
They have to be seniors?
Well, in the way they have to go through the Junior Leadership program, and that's only available to juniors.
Okay.
And so then the following year they're eligible to participate in this, and so that technically they're all seniors because they went through that particular program.
Okay, so Gian, do you want to say anything about it? The program, how do you like the program?
Personally, I would say the program has been great so far. So I actually did junior leadership last year, and I really do want to say that was one of the greatest programs I've ever had the opportunity to participate in. It was a lot of we did a lot of understanding and touring of our city. We went to different we saw different job opportunities. We of course visited the main facilities within Beaumont, like the police station, the fire station. We visited medical departments, and that was important for us to get a sort of preface, a sort of like a basic understanding of what our city does, how our city operates, and how each part coordinates and cooperates with one another, right? And that was especially evident when we went to the police station. They would be joking about the fire station, or how their interactions there. So I think that was really enlightening in that retrospect. And then when I came to the youth council, it was pretty. It was at first, it was a little difficult, I would think, with all the new students, because first you have to get to know the students, and then once you get to know them, you have to get comfortable. You have to be able to speak up. But I think now we're at a point where we're really starting to get ideas through, and then through those ideas, we're getting solutions. And I think that's amazing, because it's not just about finding a problem, it's about what can we do about that problem. And now, instead of, we've got the issues down, and now we're sort of figuring out solutions to them. So it's been a great experience so far.
So what enticed you to be a member?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
What enticed you to be a member of the Youth Advisory Board?
Sure. So, I mean, initially it was because my school counselor reached out to me. She, she sent me and my friend Sam, who's also on the youth council, an email regarding the opportunity. And what we realized was this was sort of a continuation of junior leadership, and we saw that as a great opportunity, right? Not only are we expanding on our skills and what we learned in junior leadership, but we're also trying something new by being part of a junior city council, a youth advisory board. And so that was particularly appealing to me, because for the longest time, me and my friends, and I've heard others talk about it, Beaumont need to change.
Right.
And that change doesn't stem from just one part of the population. It stems from everyone, and it has to come passionately. And once you get those ideas flowing and you get those ideas across, then I think change can be really affected. So
awesome. So Miles, what do you play? What part do you play in this organization? How you doing today?
I'm having technology.
I can say that.
Can you hear me clearly?
I hear you clearly, but you on here twice. One of them, can you take one off? That's why you have a technology problem, because you keyed in twice. There you go. Now speak. Okay, so he's really having it, because now you're smiling. So Alex, what do you want to say? What else did you want to say about the advisory board? And how, first of all, how do you get your youth to be part of it?
So right now we have we have 30 kids who literally are a part of this year's program. I don't know, Guion, were you there today when we went to the courthouse today?
Unfortunately, I was not because I had a school commitment, so
That's
that
fine.
kind of conflicted, but I apologize.
No worries. But we got 30 more kids coming through the program this year. Last year, the program was exclusive to BISD students. This year, we have BISD, we have Legacy, and I want to say we have a kid from Harmony maybe in the group as well that's participating in this program, because the way the ordinance is written through the city, we want to have representation from every major school in the city. So to that point about you saying from all walks of life, that we have representation from every Beaumont United or Early College High School, Westbrook, Legacy, Kelly, and Harmony Science Academy. All those individuals have an opportunity to have representation on the youth advisory council. So but you asked a question regarding Miles and what was his role, and I'm not sure if he's going to be able to join us or not. But Miles, effectively, if you don't know, Miles is the assistant to the city manager. So all manners that so he does special projects, and he acts as essentially an advisor to the city manager. And so this is one of the special projects that falls under his umbrella, and he is the city arm, the city employment arm of the help that goes into driving this thing. He really kind of is their primary coach as it relates to giving them particulars on decorum, as it relates to how to facilitate their meetings. He gives them, and then he's done a lot of this at the first meeting, but I think they're getting it. But just really coaching them on how to be councilmen and councilwomen when they're taking those seats, because we host our meetings in the actual chambers, and so those students are in the seats. They're facilitating their meetings just like the city council would. So Miles really functions in the capacity of making sure that the agendas are set in place. The agenda is sent out. That everybody, because on the council there's a junior mayor, there's a junior city manager, there's a junior clerk, there's so every essential function of the city council is represented through those students. And so he just makes sure that each one of them understand what their functionality is, and making sure that they walk through the different things that they have to do. He does a tremendous amount of lifting for the program, because he really is their direct point of contact. And he manages and oversees what their budgets are. So he does a tremendous amount of work for the Beaumont Youth Advisory Council.
Okay, Miles. Can you hear us, Miles? Okay, so it's funny. Anyway, so when do you go around to the schools, or do you go to the administration on what to introduce the program to the youth department? How do you do that?
So each campus has a activities coordinator.
Right.
I think Tish Smith is at Westbrook, Chantel Douglas is at BU, and I apologize to my friend at Early College High School. I do not remember her name, but and then there's somebody at Kelly, there's somebody at Legacy, there's somebody at Harmony Science, and which their primary focus is student activity and enrichment. And so they are tasked with looking at finding individuals who kind of fit the criteria that we're looking for students to participate in the program. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, that's kind of effectively how they're introduced to the program. They're given the opportunity to get an application to apply based on a recommendation from that individual. And then from there, as they go through the program, and I'll just say this on a larger scale, and not to negate our conversation this evening, but what my goal would be is to be able to emulate, not just from a city council standpoint, but from all governing entities in the city, to have some form of a junior advisory board, which I know some of them already do. I know some of them already have different extensions and legs of what this looks like. However, I just think that these kids going through this program, and I think you guys heard the gleaming review from Guion in terms of what Junior Leadership Beaumont is. Going through this program, I think really preps and primes them to be able to articulate the change that they want to see. A lot of times, I think in the beginning of their process going through this, they were really raw in their communication, really, really just saying what they felt. you know, just and without the decorum or without the direction of how to navigate through what the systems are. And so I think them going through these different programs, getting exposed to different levels of leadership, getting exposed to different people, has really given them more of an idea of how they should conduct themselves if they want to communicate effectively for people to actually hear them. And so I'm very, very, very proud of at the end of this, when they go through graduation, who the leader that they've become. They're already leaders. So don't get me wrong there. They're already fine and fantastic students, but I think they're so much more equipped about what's going on in Beaumont, the things that we have available to us. I mean, several of those kids last year when we went to the courthouse never knew any of this stuff existed in Beaumont. They didn't know we had the court system and a court system as robust as we do. They didn't know that. Several of those students was like, "Whoa, we thought this was only on TV. It is actually happening in my city." And so, and I'll say, as an adult who has been through Leadership Beaumont, it's the same thing. I've learned a lot about my city going through Leadership Beaumont that I didn't know previous to. And I don't know if it's just out of being naive or just not knowing, but literally, it kind of forces you to see several legs of what the city has to offer. So I think just them going through that program really primes them for being able to be very effective at this level.
So Keon, do you go around the school, around your campus, trying to seek others to join, or how do they become a part of it?
Sure. So what we do as a youth council, because obviously there can only be a set number of people on the council, what we try to do is we try to get our peers to come out. And so what we do is, we'll put it on the announcements. I'll tell one of my closest friends, hey, I'm trying to do a meeting today. Do you think you could come? You'll be able to see what we're doing. And then, that way word spreads around. And, you just talk to different people in casual conversations. I think that's the best way to do it personally.
Right.
And because you get it across casually, then it really sticks in their mind. They'll think about it and they'll be like, hey, I'm free today. Maybe I should go do this.
Right.
So, and you get them to one meeting, they see what you do. And then once we start having events and something like that, they'll be more interested and inclined to go to those as well. So I think that's one of the ways that I personally do it. I know that other campuses, they have announcements. Unfortunately, we only have 2 students from Westbrook here. So it is a little bit more difficult if compared to I think at Early College, they have a little bit more, around 5 students. So it really is about communication, like Alex said, knowing how to articulate, knowing how to communicate, not only professionally, but also with your community. So,
the best way to get the youth involved is word of mouth.
Yes, absolutely.
Anything is word of mouth. You go around spreading the word, saying that how wonderful it is. Then others say, "Well, I want to go and see what he's talking about." And
Absolutely.
then because, like you said earlier, it was named the Leadership Council, right?
Yes, it's named the Youth Leadership Advisory Council.
Right. And now it's named what now? It's the same name?
So right now, the council that I'm on is called the Youth Advisory Council.
Okay.
And then the program I participated in last year is called Junior Leadership. And so
Okay.
that's an extension of the leadership program in Beaumont.
So you see that? Do you notice or not notice that the sheriff department, the police department, all these organizations, they're all intertwined?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
So speaking on that, it's hard to see when you're young because you don't operate in the real world yet. You're still going to school. So you kind of live in your own little bubble with your friends and your family, right? It's hard to see what actually people do out there. But I think one of the important things that Leadership Beaumont does is by getting their youth involved and, showing them, hey, this is what a police does. And some of it may be bad, but some of it is good, right? There's both the good and the bad, but it's necessary. And so we get to see that. We get to see how, the police station particularly works with first responders. I think that's something that's important in our community. And now actually going into our 3rd meeting, we're going to be having a police presentation. So we're going to be learning more about our community. And that way, through understanding, we can actually, start making solutions.
Right. Oh, awesome, awesome. Let me talk to the our guest.
Audience.
Audience, I'm sorry. Look, guys, go ahead and hit your share button. Let them know that the youth is on tonight and the advisory board, so that more youth can get involved, and that they're seeking more youth. How many? As a matter of fact, Alex, how many youth are you participating in this organization? And this
So in on the current council, there's 18 students represented by 4 or 5 schools, but then we also have 30 more students that are going through Junior
Right.
Leadership Beaumont now. And so right now we're in effect impacting 48 kids in total. The hope would be to be able next year to be able to develop another junior entity to where that number goes from 48 to about 58.
yeah.
So I in my head, and it's a group of us. It's not just myself on the steering committee for Junior Leadership Beaumont itself, but the goal would is to try to keep the kids engaged, not only that current year, the year following, and I would like to, and I talked to someone about this. How do we can perpetuate this throughout their college years? A lot of these students are going to be going off to school, but they'll be back during the summer. They'll be back during holidays. And how do we keep, what kind of mechanism do we have to keep them engaged? They could be Junior Leadership Beaumont alumni, and that those alumni activities could kind of continue to pour into their impact on the city.
Right.
And so this program starts essentially for them as a junior, and could possibly go on from junior year in high school to senior year, and to hopefully all 4 years during their college years. And then the large picture would be is that if they've been involved in city activities throughout their last 2 years in high school, throughout their collegiate years, even though they're off the school, when they come back, there's opportunity for them to get together and for them to be engaged and be involved, that they then would want to live in the community that they have been sowing seeds in over the last few years. And so so to me, the long game would be is to be able to get them to be introduced to what our city does and how they function, give them a platform to be able to leverage and utilize their voice and impact what's actually going on, and then really engender the spirit of I want to be in Beaumont because I've been a part of impacting change here for as long as I have. And so I would think that would be the long-term goal of their involvement beyond the Beaumont Youth Advisory Council and Junior Leadership Beaumont.
Okay, Miles, you came back. Okay, there you go. How you doing, Miles?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you for joining Blue Table Talk tonight.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh my gosh, this is funny. Wow.
We can hear you. Can you see my head shaking?
I can see you clearly, but on my end, I have it seems like I can't hear you. It's like a lagged in the service or something.
Do you have any earpods?
So I tried to get on my laptop here.
Do you have any earpods? Yes? No? Perhaps?
You can switch to another person until I can figure it out. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Tony, is there anything you want to say, talk about to the youth?
No, we can't. She's muted.
Yes, you're muted.
Do you have any young ladies that are a part of this? Okay, and my next question is this something that you're, like, say you're grooming these kids and they're gonna be like groomed to be the next mayor or city councilman, and you guys are gonna push them? Is this some type of agenda like this?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, not at all. Not at all. This is definitely not an agenda to try to push people to be in position to be in office. I think the main thing, I'll just speak for myself. We're all introduced to politics in the form that we consume it, whether that's the news, whether that's through Facebook, through whatever. And so for me, I was not introduced into real politics until my late 20s, right? Where I had the chance to serve on the school board. And my interpretation of what happens as a citizen versus being actually in the seat with two totally different things in terms of the level of authority that you have, in terms of what your sphere of influence is, X, Y, and Z. And so the main goal of this is to introduce young students to what politics in a nonpartisan form. What does politics look like? And so these guys, and maybe at some point, it'll be awesome if they wanted to be the mayor, if they wanted to be, but that's not the goal. The goal is for them to be more informed about the political process. One, two, to give them a platform to be able to articulate the issues that they have as young people. The mayor was at their last meeting, and she said something that was really good for me to hear from her. She said, effectively, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, she said that I haven't been a kid for over 40 years. So the perspective of what the youth are experiencing is mine is a little dated. And so this is essentially just a mechanism to give them a bridge to be able to communicate those things. The things that I was outlining earlier in terms of the big picture, in terms of them wanting to be involved in their city beyond, when they graduate from college, it was just more so to them. If they want to move back and not be involved directly in the political process, that's on them. Like, that's completely at their discretion. That's completely, for me, having the grade of experience that I've had, I know that there's a gap between what we think happens versus what actually happens. And so the more people who are informed about the process, the more people who are informed about how we go about doing things as a government entity, as a city, as a school board, as port commissioners, all these different legs, if the information, two things. One, if the information is getting to the youth, and the second thing is if it's getting to them, it has to pass through the gap between who is in those positions and our kids, which is the parents, the adults. And so again, for me, spurring this conversation with a young adult, hopefully whoever sees this broadcast is encouraged that, hey, their kids, I think I saw a comment that, said that I got 7 grandkids in the district. It's awesome that this exists. Hopefully one of those 7 grandkids is on the campus with Guillen, and then Guillen can help that individual know more about the political process, know more about their city, know more about what's going on. This is all about closing the gap on information, because I think a lot of times in our city, there's things that are going on, whether we like it or don't like it, and we really don't know what the root cause is or what's the root force behind it. This mechanism, and this is not a cure-all, this is not a solve-all, this is just a method for us to be able to primarily expose the youth to additional opportunities that they didn't know exist in their city and how they function, and then but also too just a broad stroke of, hey, let's get some information out there. Let's open the door for people, more and more people, to get exposed to what the process is to affect change in your city.
Now, I like the fact that you guys are talking about politics and stuff like that, because Dion, you listen to all this and you experiencing all this. So I know you're young. I know you're 17. You're not able to vote right now, but to give you opportunity to learn about the candidates and what they do. So would you ever think about being a candidate for any of the positions as you grow older?
Sure. So I think one of the important things that this program does as a whole is, really give you knowledge and prepare you for different possible paths, right? So, there's obviously the path of you go into city council, you go into city government, and that's a very great path. I think this program perfectly helps you prepare for that. It gives you insight on what the government does, how it operates. And you do build relationships through this program, and it's strong relationships. So I think that's one path that I would definitely consider. I think another path is because we, as a youth council, we're operating with different parts of the city government. I think there's different routes you can take. For example, maybe you could go medical, and you could go medical administrative. That's one route you can go. I think this program helps prepare for that, because you're essentially a leader, right? And in this council, we try to not only just lead, but we try to listen too, right? During our meetings, of course, everyone wants to speak, everyone wants to share their thoughts, but the important thing is to understand that we have to listen and we have to consider before we just, give out thoughts. So I think, that is definitely a possible route. But obviously I haven't solidified my decision yet. So
Awesome. Awesome. Alex, how many people are on the advisory board?
What do you mean, like as far as the junior leadership component of it? Or so the steering committee for junior leadership currently is comprised of 5 individuals. You know, so one of which, so these are, again, we're all volunteers from different segments and parts of city leadership or city volunteer leadership. So yeah.
So if when you're on the junior league part of it, you're also on the higher level of it as well.
So traditionally, let me say this. Traditionally, Leadership Beaumont, if you're a part of that group, you'll be grouped in, say, 4 or 5 people, and I forget the number, and you'll be given a subject, and you'll be tasked with developing a program that revolves around that subject. Us as a steering committee, so from a junior leadership Beaumont perspective, we didn't think, and there's no offense to you again, we didn't think we can do the same thing and allow the students to be able to put together a program because they don't have much context of the city yet. Right. And so we, as a steering committee, we take a subject matter, or like a subject matter is given to us based on what our interests are or the things that we've done. And then we put together the program to be able to illustrate to the students what's going on in that area. For example, I want to say we did like recreation, like what goes on in Beaumont, like what activities. So last year, and so they took the kids down to Cattail Marsh. They had a chance to explore that entire property. They went to Terra Park. They learned about the forgive me, where the plants are. I know there's a more technical term for that, but that botany area. And so it's one of those things where it's like, we as the steering committee, all we're tasked to do is to be able to put on a program that will last about 5 hours to educate them on a particular subject matter in the city and how it functions. And so our primary areas, there's and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong, there's a local government, there's a recreation day, there's an economics day, there's a health and medical day, there's a day where we talk about, what's the other one? There's a couple of others, the major subject matters, education. There's a couple other things that we cover in Canvas, but you know, again, that's the primary goal of the people who are on the steering committee. So it's not really a higher or a lower. It's just more so of, hey, what skill sets do you bring to the table? What resources do you bring to the table? And how do we go about putting together the best program that we can?
Okay, let me talk to my viewers. If there's anybody out there that want to ask a question, please go ahead and do that in the comment sections, and so that we can pose it to our guest today. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Toya? Okay, so I'm sure she wanted to say something, but she's on mute. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Can't hear you. Type it. So what can you do? What happens if a person wants to be a part of it and they're not able to at least come to the meetings or whatever?
So I would say that I think the most effective thing that we can possibly try to do in terms of participation is to come out at minimum and just support the kids. Like, I think they're having their 3rd meeting on February the 9th at 4:00. I want to say you guys are trying to meet every 2 weeks. I know the city council meets every week, but they're trying to meet bi-weekly. So there's going to be opportunity for the community to come out and not only to hear what they have to say. There's public comments, a public comment section in that meeting, just like the normal city council meeting. And so they have a chance. The community really has a chance. And plus, I think we're live streaming. This is going to be the first meeting that's going to be live streamed, the one that's coming up this Thursday. And so just as the city council meetings, they'll be, you know, the community has an opportunity to be able to correspond. I think I heard you a little bit, Miss Toya.
Yeah. Did you want to say something?
I'm sorry. Miles told me to interrupt you, Alex. He called out. He wanted me to put him on speakerphone, but I can't since I'm on my phone. He
Gotcha.
wants to know, can you put him on speakerphone since you're on the computer?
Sure thing. Sure thing. Okay.
Oh,
Hey, can y'all hear Miles?
Yes, go ahead.
hey, my apologies. I don't know what happened with technology on my end, but it would become an excuse if I kept talking about that.
I'm gonna get you for that.
Questions for me?
They had several questions for you, Miles, but we tried to do our best to fill them. So what I guess what I would say
Okay,
is, if
I
you
want to
can-
ask them what got him involved into this the youth advisory.
Okay, so I think in 2017, the council tried to do something like this. And it just, for whatever reason, just kind of fizzled out. COVID kind of came around when I think they really wanted to start it back. So mainly it was Councilman Samuel, I think Miss Angie Thomas within the office. And so they tried to do this with a staff member. When they got really started, COVID happened. And then they kind of, it's been conversation with the junior leadership program, Alex, Miss Krista, and Councilman Turner. And so they've been kind of talking about this idea. And we have a new city manager, Kenneth Williams. And so he was excited about the idea of including the youth and the development of youth regarding government. So he was on board. We had a meeting with Alex and Krista and Councilman Turner. And so I kind of picked up the project from there. So I represent basically the city of Beaumont, allowing the students to kind of be connected to departments. Obviously, it's a new program. Our ideal is essentially to run from September to May. This is a hybrid year, and so essentially we start in January. So, this is a tougher process for the kids because you have to kind of find the chemistry. You got to work together. Those are things that we kind of push. And essentially, we're trying to teach them about the government process.
Now, Miss Jones, we can't hear you now. Are you muted?
So this program does not run year round?
This is a September to May program. There are some things that we are looking at for the summertime, but no, as of now, it's a youth council program, and they have a 1-year term, and that term will begin in September and essentially end in May.
Okay, so when it picks up again in September, do you have the same students, or are there different students, or it depends on if they're seniors or juniors?
It'll be different students. Our goal is to get seniors in high school. So once they finish with us in May, they're graduating and going off to college. There are some ways that I'm going to speak to the youth council this Thursday on how we can keep those college graduates included into this process. But I'm going to save that information for them and let them hear it first and kind of decide on it before I bring it back out to the public.
I have a question. Why are y'all waiting to their juniors? Why not start when they're freshmen? Because you have a lot of kids that are interested.
Yeah, so we went to a conference in Dallas this past weekend. We took 5 students from Beaumont Early College. And one thing I learned was when you have a shortage of programs like the YMCAs and the Boys and Girls Clubs and those bigger community groups who used to run these style of programs, not necessarily just the government, but just the organizational programs in the community, cities are really taking on that as a task and an assignment. Now, you have churches who have their own programs, but over the years, there's been a shortage in those programs. And so we're seeing a gap in service. So I left that conference thinking we probably need to develop some type of strategic plan for every youth, whatever level they were at. Now, that could be from middle school all the way up until they get to this program as a senior. And this program isn't for everybody. It's a governmental entity like you think of council. So they're supposed to govern for all. But there'll be an application process once they complete the junior leadership. But I appreciate you asking that question. Our goal in the future, we have an intern working with me. They'll be we'll develop a strategic plan, kind of like what the city is doing for our development move forward, we'll do that for the youth. We want to identify where the gaps in services and how we can best help the youth council help the youth, because everything's going through them. So this is for me to provide them a resource, so therefore that they can be the best help for the students who they go to school with and the students who are underneath them in middle school.
Okay.
So mainly the program is geared towards the students who are student council members at their school.
So the program is geared towards high school seniors.
Are they in student council at the school?
I'm sorry, I missed it.
I said that are the children that's geared in this program, are they in student council at the school, or just?
Oh no. So this the idea of this program is that once they complete the junior leadership program, then they can be a part of the Beaumont Youth Advisory Council. In the future, and we have a good blend of students. I don't think we have anybody off the top of my head, not that many that are part of their own governmental advisory council within their school, but that would be welcome. But it's not the prerequisite to be a part of this.
Okay. Okay, I see. Any other questions, Tori? You're muted.
She's muted. You're muted.
Well, I had a question because the young man was talking about they go to the police station and speak with them. Or do you guys have open dialogue and you let them know the things that, you feel that we're being failed as a community? And is it a way that we need to bridge the gap, I feel, with our youth and our police officers so we can build up that trust? Is that something that you guys could do?
Guion, you want to speak to that?
Sure. So I think we could absolutely do that in the future. When I was in junior leadership last year, it was more of a learning curve. So we were still understanding what the police did, and at the end of their presentation and stuff, they would ask questions, and they would be like, "If you have any questions or concerns, let us know." And some of us spoke up, but I don't think at that time we really had a sort of grasp on what issues we would like them to address. And I didn't think we really had that sort of power there either. But now as a youth council, we can actually do that. And I know with the police presentation coming in this next meeting on February 9th, we're going to learn a lot more. So definitely in the future, we can definitely do something like that. I know there are certain regulations and limits, so we would have to operate within those bounds for with the city government and stuff like that. But absolutely, that would be a great idea.
And also, do you guys tell the city council members if it's something that you feel they're not doing? Are you vocal about that as well?
So what we usually do is we have an agenda, and so like any council, we go through those agenda items. Obviously we have our presentations and stuff like that. But sometimes we can certainly do that if there's something that the city council did that we didn't particularly like, or we think could have been done better. We can certainly bring it up as an item to discuss. Obviously, we have entities and members from the city council represented at our meetings, and so they'll be certainly hearing that. And so that's something that can be definitely brought up and discussed over during the meetings. Now, regarding voting on that and affecting change with that, I think that would have to come from the actual city council, because it is a matter of issue with the city and not something that we have the power to do. But we can certainly discuss it and bring awareness to it.
And I'll say, if I could jump in there, their last meeting, they had a presentation on crime where they outlined all of the crime issues that are happening in the city, and there were about 3 or 4 councilmen in the sitting in the seats, and the mayor was there. So they gave a very transparent, a very candid conversation about what their research brought to them as it relates to the level of crime that's existing in our city. And so I can confidently say they don't hold any punches when it comes down to things that are affecting them, things that are affecting their parents. The tapestry of the board, I would say, is pretty blended in terms of like just demographics represented. And so all of those individuals are kind of voicing what their grievances are from their worldview. And here's the thing: I think I tend to discount as an adult, their worldview is a lot more sharper than what we give it credit for. And so it's like just the things that we think they're not noticing per se, they're having to notice it because their parents are involved with it, or their neighbors are involved with it. So it's refreshing to hear. Like literally, I was sitting in the seats last meeting and listening to their crime presentation, knowing who was in the room, and I was kind of feeling like, okay, y'all are being very real. But it was appreciated, though. They kept it. They were honest about their assessment. They didn't, like I said, they didn't hold any punches. And so I to answer your question, Toya, I think they are primed for this type of moment.
So do they have to, if they have any questions about anything in the city, do they have to throw the question to you guys first, or can they just come out and just stand up on their word?
So I guess, and Miles, you can jump in here if need be. I would say that none of the things they say are just like golden. Again, this is a program that is an exposure program to give them a platform to be able to discuss their things. We would like to think that the things that they say are in alignment with what the city's direction is. I think we're very correct, and I'll say this is all Miles here. He is doing a very good job of making sure that they are staying in bounds with what they should say, what they can't say. So I don't anticipate that being an issue or a problem, but I think they pretty much step within. They're stepping in concert with what the current council is doing. Miles, you want to add to that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the issues that the youth have spoken about are something that they can solve outside of council. They don't really need to go to city council to solve some of their own issues. So our goal is just to teach them teamwork, governmental process, the skill set, and really just once you start trusting each other, we only had 2 meetings. I want to encourage them. Everything doesn't need to be brought before council. Not that I would never encourage them or try to lead them in a direction that would violate any of our ordinances or our policies. But most change can happen on their own campuses. And so what we started to realize is that, most of the change that they want to see can be done on their campus without our authority, because we have limited authority once they step on that campus. So we can, if it comes to like water, that's different, right? Those are some things that we directly impact from our resources, and grant funding and funding like that, we can impact that. Like we spend our money to make sure that they were able to go to this conference and do things of that nature. We have to be compassionate and present because we don't know the issues that they're facing. That's what council members, the mayors stood up there and said, I've never been you guys' age for so long. And so what we're doing is we're learning to listen, take notes, and if we keep hearing this over and over, then in the future we know, hey, let's move this direction as a city because it's in the best interest of our youth, and that's in the best interest of our citizens. So it's a learning curve for us, to be patient, to not force them into a method. That's my goal, is not to force them into a particular method. I'm not forcing them to a party line. I make sure that we don't even get it. We talk about issues. Our goal is to talk about issues to move towards solutions. So, this is a new day where the youth can take a lead. They don't need it. Some of this stuff may not need to go before council, but the council is updated. Every council meeting, they have a representative from youth council who reports to city council and gives them an update. So they are aware of some things that we're talking about.
You're muted, Ms. Jones.
If I could also jump in right quick. So Sam just reached out to me and he said he's wondering if he can still get on and he just wants to confirm with y'all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess send them. Yeah.
Away. He come on. Okay, so Gion, what would you say to your peers about this program?
I would say mainly that this is something important that we're trying to do. You know, this is something that we always talk about, right? You know, we go to dinner, we're like, man, Beaumont, you know, like it has to change, it has to improve. And I would tell them that if we talk about it so much, then we need some support on it too, right? It's not just about discussing it, it's about taking action. So, I would strongly suggest to my peers to come to our meetings. Our meetings are open to our community of peers. So, I would strongly advocate and support, so.
Hi, Sam. How are you tonight?
How are you, ma'am? Very good, thank you.
Great. Thank you for coming in to Blue Table Talk.
Yes, ma'am. Very sorry for my tardiness.
No problem. No problem. We know everybody has some things to do. So, Sam, I was asking Gion, what would he tell his peers about this program? What would you tell your peers?
If I could, spread a message amongst all the kids in high school or our age, I would say that that for the longest time there's been this kind of narrative that Beaumont is a sinking ship and the only prudent course of action would be to leave, right? So the Youth Advisory Council kind of aims to change both the actual environment that would make Beaumont have the characterization of being bad, and then to change the public perception that Beaumont doesn't have a future for it, right? So it's really like a two-headed dragon, the tasks that the Youth Advisory Council aims to accomplish, right? So we're trying to put forth measures before the real city council that could benefit the status of youth in Beaumont, and then also give the youth kind of a sense of hope that they have an ability to influence and positively change the city that we hope they stay in and live in and help develop into the next decades.
Alex, you want to add to that?
No, I think let me tell you, I am amazed every time I get a chance to listen to these young people articulate what their feelings are as it relates to the things that happen in our city. And so I think Sam and Gion, y'all spot on with you guys' responses. It's particularly Sam. I know you just came on, but it's you guys are wanting to try to cast a net to the youth of the city that says, hey, Beaumont isn't a bad place to live if we come together and try to figure some things out. In a nutshell, that's what you just said. So no, this is the level of volunteerism that I feel like I always want to put my time towards when it's things like this. If I was to do something outside of the time that I spend with my family, the time that I allocate towards my duties at work and entrepreneurship, is spending time with young folks to try to help them understand things faster so they can start making an impact quicker. I know myself as when I was their age, I wasn't even thinking about this at all. It wasn't even, I did debate a little bit in high school, but I was just a normal kid where I had an after school job and just was kind of trying to make money to go buy stuff that I thought I needed. And it's one of those things to where I feel like we're changing the trajectory in terms of thought as it relates to how they see themselves in their city and how they can project themselves onto what's going on in the city.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, I agree 100%. After leaving the conference, I feel real confident that we can be the best youth council in the state of Texas, if not further than that. And so my goal is to, from a strategic standpoint, is set everybody up for success, set them up for opportunities to bring solutions to their communities, and the process is on them. My goal is just to provide them the opportunity, and we take it one step at a time. So this is going to be our third meeting, but I think we got a great group of kids or young adults, and they're excited, and so I know the future is going to be bright.
Right. How many times a year do y'all go to conference? Or just once?
Well, this is our first year doing it. We have another conference that is scheduled. I think it's in. We go as our funding goes. So we have, in a sense, an account where people can donate to. We started off with sort of a healthy balance, healthy fund, and we still have one now. And so that allows us to go to these conferences. If it meets the criteria of something related to youth and government, connecting with other governmental entities who have these similar programs, then we'll look into those opportunities and try to send our students there for education, professionalism, and growth. So, there's really no limit on it. We don't go every week, but if there's a big conference out there that we think that students can benefit from, they'll do a little research. We'll talk about it. We'll put it to a vote, and we'll send students like we did just this past weekend.
So how are you funded?
Say it again.
How are you funded?
So the funding that we have is through private donations. So ExxonMobil and Entergy were some of the bigger funders that are a part of our account as of now.
Okay. So therefore, you don't send out any kind of information saying that you need donations, stuff like that.
Yeah, we're going about it strategically. So what I want to do, or my goal, is to get everybody comfortable with the process. And regarding funding, I'll reach out to the stakeholders and people in the community to request that fund. I didn't want to put that pressure on our students who have so many other things going on. I can handle that. But as of now, we have funding, but we always welcome people who want to support the youth council. There's ways that you can donate to youth council, and I can get you that information if you have anybody interested or yourself is interested. But we're just starting. I kind of wanted to check the process because this is mainly about the process, and we didn't incur too many costs at this point.
Right. Well, you know how to get. I don't know if you still know how to get in touch with me, but I know Alex knows how to get in touch with me. Just send me the information, and I put it out there. Help you guys out because. I mean, this is awesome. Getting our youth involved in governmental information, stuff like that. That's awesome. Especially at a young age.
Yeah.
So they could be anywhere else, but you got to look at the bright side of it. Yeah.
And I have a question. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I called on you.
No, I had a question. I know a few years back they allowed us to go into the schools and we didn't talk politics. We only just told them the importance of voting, and they allowed us to go in and register the children. Is that something you guys could do in the future for kids who aren't registered?
I'll say this. We had a meeting earlier, and I think the school district and administrators encourage students to be registered to vote. I can't stop anybody who wants to get individuals registered to vote, but I just try to stay away from, anything that comes to local voting or swaying anybody in any direction and registering to vote.
Of course.
But the short answer is I think the schools that we're working with, they've spoken very positively about getting their students to be aware that, as you graduating, register to vote. And also, as this program grows, which it will, students are going to be knowledgeable about the voting process because that's included in government. So we plan to do that very strategically from our meetings. I'm not saying we can't go to a school campus, but when I talked to administrators earlier, they were encouraging their students, hey, once you turn 18, if you want to make any change, be a part of your voting process. So the school district was doing that. So I want to commend them partnering with us on that. The administrators I was talking to earlier.
Okay, no, and I wasn't saying to sway them in any way, because when we went, we didn't sway them. It was just the knowledge of letting them know you have an option. So that's, I hope you didn't take it the wrong way.
No.
Okay.
Definitely, yeah. No, I didn't take it no negative way.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something, we're going to be doing listening sessions like what I'm listening to you and taking those notes down as we form our objectives and goals as we move forward. And when I spoke to students earlier, Alex was in the room. They did talk about voting.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a spirited conversation earlier today, and there's a lot more youth that have vibrant opinions about what's going on in their city, and we're trying to create mechanisms for them to be able to voice those things in the most appropriate way that they can.
Awesome.
That's great. I think it's an awesome program that you guys,
It's
and
awesome.
I've heard a lot about you, Alec, but just I would like to say, getting to know Miles, I think he's the perfect person he's a man of integrity, and I think he's the perfect person to be a mentor for these children
Yeah.
as well.
Yes.
Thank you for those two words.
Hey, Miles, like I said, Miles ultimately is doing all of the lifting. Okay, I come around when I come around. Ain't that right, Miles? I come around when I come around, but Miles effectively is leading the group. He's working directly with them, hands on. Just by like association, I'm doing some hands-on things with them. Some of these kids are still participating in like a mentor type style situation for the current group of junior leadership Beaumont kids that are coming through. Like today, Sam was there. The junior mayor was there. Isaac Torres was at today's meeting. And so I'm still having interaction with those students. I'm doing a little bit of the work for them in their group as well. So like, but Miles is the guy who does all of the lifting. I was just say all the lifting. We did a lot of stuff before we got this ball rolling, but once it was official, Miles kind of took the all the reins there, and kind of he's the man.
Well, thank both of you guys for working with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that's great because we need people like you guys.
Yeah, because I like I said, I've heard a lot about Alex. Is Alex, right? Because you work at Chick-fil-A, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of great things about you. So yeah, I think you guys are doing an amazing job, and y'all just keep doing it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I also council, they support us, but also our city manager. He's given us the ability to do these kind of things. Sometimes you can start projects like this, and you can face so much red tape or unnecessary hurdles, put it that way. I wouldn't even say unnecessary hurdles, and he's been nothing but support, giving us his blessing to take the students to Dallas and other trips. And so, I mean, it's easier to do it, in working with the city when you have a city manager like that. And, obviously staff members have helped as well, but I appreciate everybody's support.
And just shout out to Councilman Samuels, who had the vision in the beginning to get this thing started. And then shout out to AJ, Councilman AJ, just to kind of to pick up the mantle and to continue to run forward with it, and all really the council as a whole.
Right.
They've been nothing but supportive in this whole endeavor. Just the words of support they've offered to the kids in terms of just what they're doing, some of the real feedback, the real critiques and criticism. Shout out to the activities directors too. Ms. Douglas has been at every meeting that they've had so far, and she's provided input to those kids, and so I can tell that she really cares about what they're doing and what they're attempting to do. So this is a village type of a thing that's going on here, and I think if we're going to really affect change, that's what the type of activity that we're going to have.
Yes. I do want to get the city manager on my podcast, so I'm gonna have to reach out to him. So
well, I mean, Miles. you got Miles. You have a contact now for Miles, and so I don't know if he could throw the alley or whatever, but y'all can have a conversation.
That really was a hint for Miles.
I ain't obligating Miles to anything. But yeah, so
I'll pass the message on to the city manager.
What did he say?
I'll pass a message on to the city manager.
Okay, thank you, Miles. Okay, I'm Terry Roy says I see Sam and Gion are future leaders. So yes, hats off to you guys. I appreciate you guys for coming on Blue Table Talk. I am respectful of time, and I know that we are only on for an hour, and I know everybody have things to do, and I don't like to go over your time. So Alex, I like to very much appreciate. I very much like to thank you, because you were the one that to stop and ask me about the guys coming on and everything, the future leaders coming on. And I appreciate that, because this was a good podcast. I mean, very good to just hear our youth speaking out, you know. So thank you and Miles. Can you hear me, Miles? Thank you, thank you and Miles for bringing them on tonight. And Sam, thanks for coming in and ask, can you come on in at the last minute? That's fine. I love it, because you were, you know, it was interesting. Gion, you I mean, you just stole my heart.
Thank you. I appreciate
Mine
it.
too.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Seriously.
Yeah. So if there anything else you guys need to say before we go off tonight? Yes? No?
Just thank you for this amazing opportunity. It was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, Sam came on the last minute, but it was good to hear him talk, and I think this was a really good podcast. So
Yeah,
it
thank
was
you,
fun.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so very much for the opportunity again. So sorry that I was late, but I'm always very happy to speak to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Alex, thank you. Now I'll see you around.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you guys, to my viewers. Thank you for coming in on Blue Table Talk tonight. You know, you always support me. God bless you. God keep you is my prayer. Always my motto. If I can help somebody as I pass along this way, then I know that my living not in vain. One love. Okay? God
All right.
bless you.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.